Folks, welcome to Retro Reload. This is the real episode 22 or 21, or we don't even know anymore. We don't even keep track.
Yeah.
But I think last time Mr. Nikon falsely announced that it was episode 22, but that was actually episode 21 because West Coast skipped an episode because we can do that because we're awesome. We got a huge lineup today. I'm DashV.
I'm Fighter Pilot.
I'm Mr. Nikon.
I'm Maximo.
I'm T-Pug.
Oh, hey! Sir! Sorry!
Yes, we have Jason. We have Turf. 1218.
And I'm Red.
All right. Guys, I'm super psyched. We've got a lot of topics here. We've got at least one topic that's going to make me rage. So we got that to look forward to. Jeremy has left it as a surprise as to whether or not he's showing up happy or pissed. He said we could get either, so I'm interested to see how that turns out. We got some news that we're going to share with you. And then if you stick around to the end, if you guys really want to, maybe DashV will tell you a story from the NES days.
And I would try not to swear too much right now.
I see you looking away. Are you watching a game?
Yeah, Blackhawks and some team called the Anaheim Ducks.
Stop hating.
They're coached by Emilio Estevez, and they're probably gonna do like the flying V and go quack quack quack.
I was gonna say, are there people going Emilio?
But I said already that the Anaheim Ducks coach looks like Mickey Rooney.
Yes.
All right. I bet you at least, well, we don't have any viewers. I was going to say at least some of our viewers probably know who Mickey Rooney is still. But since we don't have any viewers, it doesn't matter. What's in the news, Jeremy?
Okay, the first one is Konami saying they're going to mobile, straight mobile pretty much. That's their main platform now. How do you guys feel about that?
I don't know. They did a lot of classic, console games for like the NES. But I don't know.
I think the biggest problem is a lot of the classic console games that they did, they don't have the license to anymore, right? I mean, we haven't seen a Konami Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in forever, right?
Yes.
It's true.
Yeah,
but you think about it. They got so many IPs, and we haven't seen anything of them in a long time. And remember, they also have the Hudson Soft stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, they tried kicking out some new stuff with old IPs, but frankly, the newer Castlevanias, I think, just couldn't hold a candle, pun intended, to the old ones.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I started with Dawn of Sorrow, but even from there, you could tell that it's not exactly as good as those. They're more God of War ripoffs than they are an actual Castlevania game.
Yeah, absolutely. Me personally, I look at it was interesting the way that they kind of phrased the announcement, right? They didn't. I mean, a lot of companies are going into mobile, right? Even Nintendo is dabbling in mobile now. But the way the Konami announcement sounded, they're doubling down on mobile. It's like mobile is going to be their main thrust. And to me, I guess they probably didn't intend it this way, but to me, it just looks like them, flatly admitting we got no power on the consoles anymore. We're not going to be able to attract enough attention, so we need to go where the waters are a bit deeper and wider.
And with that, they're alienating their current fan base, I believe. At least a good amount of them.
Oh yeah.
They don't at all.
And
all I play is Clash of Clans.
And also, if you notice, they're pushing gambling a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to get it legalized in Japan, for one. And they have a bunch of different arcade or slot machines and stuff.
Yeah, Jason, what are your thoughts on Konami going mobile? Right, they had a ton of titles on the NES.
Yeah, sell off some of these IPs that they have, or at least the console rights to it, and they can make mobile Castlevania games if they want to, but let Nintendo have it. Let I don't know, Sony have it. Let somebody else have Castlevania. Somebody have Contra. For the love of God, give us a new Contra game. Please. Contra 4 on the DS was great. We need more. Sorry.
I absolutely agree. It's kind of it might be time for Konami to maybe think of either letting some of these properties go, or maybe the creators of these original properties, right, need to go the Mighty Number 9 route and just say, this isn't Contra. This is like Alien Side-Scroller Fighter Force, right?
You mean
But when you play it, it's Contra.
You mean Bloodstain?
Oh, I hadn't heard of it. But yeah, I mean, Mighty Number 9 it, right? I mean, just bloodstain it.
Yeah, but I mean, also Contra, they had kind of like a bit of a spiritual successor to it with Hard Corps, and they only did one game of that, and it's actually pretty good.
Very good.
Yeah, but they haven't done anything with it since that one game.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm starting to think maybe some of these companies, I don't know, maybe they don't really want to make money anymore. I mean, you see people screaming for a new Mega Man game, but we have to kind of pull teeth to get it. People have been screaming for a Final Fantasy VII remake for Square, from Square for like over a decade, and they've been churning out, all kinds of Final Fantasy games we never wanted or asked for, instead of just giving us a sweet-ass looking Final Fantasy VII. So at some point, you just got to ask yourself, like, do they just not want my money anymore? Maybe my money, I don't know, maybe my money's dirty.
We really need.
Give them my money for Final Fantasy VII anyways.
What was that, Jason?
Do we really need more remakes? Come on, new games. You can do something in the vein of, Final Fantasy VII, but we do really need a high-def Final Fantasy VII.
No.
I think yeah, and here's why I think yeah, right? I love Final Fantasy VII. It's a great game. It's not my favorite Final Fantasy, but it's up there, right? My son, however, he can appreciate the old school. There was something about early PlayStation graphics that just sucks out loud and does not get better with age, right? Super Mario All-Stars, things like that. These games age actually incredibly well, and if you're playing them on something like the Retron 5 with upconversion and filters and stuff, they can look really sweet. And so my son can play a lot of old games and really appreciate them. You play Final Fantasy VII, and it just looks old. There's a lot of forgiveness as a new age gamer that you have to give that game before you can really get into it.
Yeah, honestly, even compared to other titles that came out at the time, Final Fantasy VII doesn't look that good, I think.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
So,
but that's one of those.
although normally I'm with you, Jason. I agree that sometimes, don't just rehash for the sake of rehashing. I don't want 9, remakes of Final Fantasy VII. I'd just be good with one Resident Evil HD upgrade to the Final Fantasy VII game.
I actually just bought that yesterday.
Tyler, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, with regard to the old graphics, I mean, you kind of have to take into account the time that it was made. I mean, it doesn't look good now, but I think if you go into it with the right mindset, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I can certainly do that, but I think it's because we call those nostalgia glasses, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when there's so many games that you can just appreciate how good they still look now, given when they were made, it's really hard to give forgiveness to a game that should have looked better for all the hardware it was running on, but it just doesn't.
Yeah, no, that's true.
So.
Did Maximo say anything about it?
About what? Sorry.
Final Fantasy VII remake or no? Let it die.
Well, let's see. Honestly, when they did that whole trailer where it's like Final Fantasy VII on the PS4, but instead it's like, the PC version, people were just like, man, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, playing for the game, because, what was it, about a few years ago when I played a lot of emulators on my phone, I went through that game, and, still, even though the PS1 is probably like one of the better 3D processing machines of its time, it just doesn't look good today. They gotta remake it, and they've shown in tech demos they can remake it. Like, I remember they did a PS3 tech demo where it's like Final Fantasy VII as well, but nothing came out of that. So who knows, man? Square Enix.
Yeah, absolutely. But I got us a bit off topic. More to the topic, and it's kind of right up there with this whole Konami going mobile thing, because they're not the first and only ones to do this.
Oh yeah.
A bunch of other folks have been doing it. We showed there's a Mega Man 2 app that you can get where Capcom had Mega Man 2 ported to the iPhone, and it's
Yep.
pretty darn good as long as you don't have to jump. So the touch controls
That's
don't
all.
translate too well, but I believe one of our topics, Jeremy, right, was our thoughts on whether or not we think that mobile will eventually replace console gaming.
Yes, that is one of the last topics. Yes.
So I'm going to just throw down right away. I think absolutely not. I'll get into more details a little bit later, but I want to get some other folks some time to chime in. Mr. Nikon, what do you think? Do you think I'm right or wrong?
I agree with you. There's the thing of holding the real controller in your hand. That a lot of people, like us, that feeling of the controller in your hand, it just, I don't know, it just feels good. Playing it on the phone, it's in a little tiny screen. It just, it's not that fun. Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Jason?
On mobile is built for people wanting to kill 20 minutes on the bus. That's who's playing Farmville. That's who's playing what's the Candy Crush. A real game for gamers is going to be with a controller in front of a giant TV, big sound, big graphics, and that's just what we're into. And it doesn't even have to be like retro games. They don't work the same on this. We're not playing. Guys that want to play games don't want to play Candy Crush. We're annoyed by the invites on Facebook.
Yeah. So Max, what are your thoughts?
Well, after playing quite a bit of mobile games over time and stuff like that, I mean, it's a good alternative to people who, want to kill a bit of time, but honestly, it's like a whole market taking over consoles. It really just won't happen, and I think the main problem is just controls, because there's many situations where it's been hey, let's play Shunwa, for example, you have to have very precise movements to get through certain enemy patterns. The problem, though, is that sometimes, depending, the way the controls are set up, you could, completely just, blunder your movement and then just get hit, not entirely by your fault, but by the controls that are put in the game.
Yeah, I think a really good example of that is I was playing last night the Pac-Man. They released I bought the base app, and they keep releasing different map packs and stuff.
Oh.
And every now and then they'll have a certain map pack that's temporarily available for free, and you can play one of the three in the pack. And the one that they had for free was just the 35th anniversary of Pac-Man. 35 years of Pac-Man. Woo! But so they had a board that had a big 35 on it, and it was kind of shaped like the cake icon that you can pick up. Everything. Well, I played that for about an hour. And Pac-Man, it doesn't really get much easier as far as touch controls go. You swipe up and down, left and right. But even then, there were times where it didn't quite register, or when you're in a really frantic, scenario there, your fingers are on the screen, so you're like, damn it, how am I supposed to see that there's a ghost there? It's right under my thumb. So even with a game as simple as Pac-Man and controls as simple as Pac-Man, two things. My thumbs hurt like hell after playing it, because Gorilla Glass is not kind on your fingers. And then it's really awkward too to kind of to hold the phone. I know they've got different things that you can attach onto the phone and everything. The reality is I'm never going to carry that shit in my pocket. I'm just not going to.
No.
I'm going to carry my phone, and that's basically it. So I think you're right though, Max. I'm with you that if I need to kill a few minutes, I'm with Jason too. If I need to kill a few minutes, on a bus, from here to Palo Alto or something, or if I'm at the doctor's office or whatever, I'll kill some time, but I'm not going to have a marathon 8-hour gaming session on my cell phone. It's for me personally, it's not going to happen. So I think anybody that is kind of expecting a major console apocalypse because of mobile is forgetting that people have been asking the same question about would PCs destroy console gaming and would console gaming destroy PCs, and they've been having that discussion for the last 15 years, and the landscape largely hasn't really changed. They've both coexisted, and each of them filled a niche that the other one couldn't.
Tell you what, I'm going to jump back and say one more thing about this. I've been playing Knights of the Republic on an iPad, and that works. It is the exact same experience with touch controls because you get the guy to walk by pointing, and it's a fantastic game. I've been playing the iPad actually more than I have my consoles in the last little bit. I put 10 hours in it in the last week, which is amazing for me. So I guess it's going to depend on the game. Maybe if they can, there's more. I don't. It won't ever overtake it, but there are games out there that are actual games, not just time.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I was getting at too. Is I think mobile is going to find its niche. Right now, they're kind of like it's like the Wii, right? They're throwing whatever the hell they can get to run on it at it to see what sticks, what works, what people like, what they buy. But sooner or later, just like the Wii, they're going to find that sweet spot where like these kinds of games work on it. These kind of games are worth having. And if you want to play the other games, maybe there'll still be some roughly successful rudimentary attempts to get it on there, but for the most part, you'll be better served on other platforms. Like if you want to play a first-person shooter, I think the iPad is probably, or the iPhone is like the worst form factor you could try to do that with. But if it's a more point-and-click type game, then I think that it can actually work quite well. Another game, one that I did spend quite a bit of time on, was we can cover it in another episode. I got some surprises in store for that one, but it's Saturday Morning RPG. You should look it up. It's a really good indie game by Mighty Rabbit Studios. They also made some other games that have been out more recently, Breach and Clear and things like that. But just works really well, and they did some innovative stuff with the touch controls that makes you just kind of like chuckle and go, that not only takes me back, but that's a hell of a way to use the touch controls. So. Red Blaze?
Yeah, no. I would think that phones, they work pretty good for puzzle games and turn-based RPGs a bit, but other than that, not much for me. And I mean, if I'm just gonna, and even just with RPGs, I'll rather play it on the Vita or 3DS. That's me. And plus, I mean, an ex-Naughty Dog employee just came out and said that it's probably going to be another 2 years until we see 4K on consoles, or another two console generations. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I can definitely. I mean, they're having their hands full right now, just trying to hit 1080p, right? So I can't imagine the kind of horsepower that they're going to need on a console to bring us 4K. That's kind of insane, and it's a little premature too, because some of us are still debating the jump to 1080p, much less 4K, but although it is becoming more available. Tyler, what are your thoughts on mobile and its domination of the gaming landscape?
I think everybody's made really good points. I can't disagree with anything that anybody said so far. But I think the one thing that nobody has really mentioned, and I'm sure this is a big part of it, is that it's so much cheaper, it seems anyway to me, to make a mobile game and charge, $2 for it, and then have all the microtransactions and everything else that goes along with it. It's a business model that is great for them. You can
that is really interesting, though. I mean, I'm curious if we should try to get a mobile developer on a future episode, because a question I would like to ask them is right up the alley of what you just said. Like, part of me wonders, as a developer, as an engineer, like, is it truly cheaper to develop a mobile game, or are you painted into a corner of your game is not going to compete against the $1 and $1.99 games if you sell it for $15?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at. I mean, I don't know, because me personally, I have never paid for a phone game. I've only downloaded the free ones. Some of them have microtransactions. I've never done that either. So I'm not the ideal customer for that. And
the only game I've paid more than $1 for, I only have paid for, I think, maybe like 2 or 3 games, and there's only 2 that I paid more than $1 for. One of them was Pinball Arcade, because they managed to perfectly recreate Attack from Mars, the pinball game, the real pinball game, on the iPhone. And so that was kind of like I'm throwing my money at the phone and nothing's happening type moment. And then
that the from Mars? That's where Lincoln stands up and the Lincoln Memorial stands up and attacks. Is that where it's like half video, half pinball?
Absolutely. And when you hit the spaceship, there's a big giant physical spaceship in the middle that shakes as it does it, and they've got. What was that?
What's the name of that app? Because I'm about.
It's the Pinball Arcade.
Pinball Arcade. Thank you.
Yep, the Pinball Arcade. And you got to be careful because they sell them in packs, so you want to make sure that you get the pack that contains that table. So that game I paid more than, and that was one of the few games that I bought multiple times. I bought it for the phone, and I also bought it for the PS3. I ended up regretting my PS3 purchase because the game, to this day, it still has like lag. It doesn't. By the time it registers that I've hit the flippers, the ball is already like drained. So that was kind of a pain in the ass. There are workarounds for it. I have to if I want to play the game on the PS3 at full frame rate and have it even be playable, I have to force my PS3 into 720p mode, which is a giant pain. So I basically never bothered with it on the PS3. But on the iPhone, it for the last 3 years, it's just worked beautifully. So can't say enough good things about the iPhone version. I wish the PS3 version was as robust. Maybe it is now. It's been a couple months. I just haven't. I got tired of downloading updates and being disappointed, so that it still didn't work the way I wanted it to. The other game though was Saturday Morning RPG, and the only reason that was more than $1 was because they made episodes out of it, and the first episode you can download completely free and play it. It's like it's kind of very much like Super Mario RPG. Only it's like a mashup of all the Saturday morning cartoons that we loved. There's nods to Back to the Future. There's nods to Michael Jackson, Transformers. I mean, if you can think about it and it's from your childhood, they've come up with some kind of cheap knockoff in the game, and they've done it in a way that this game is a love letter to our childhood. So you should check out definitely the first episode. And then if you're anything like me, it was another I'm throwing my money at the phone and I'm getting every single episode. So.
The other thing that I find interesting about mobile games is that I've seen a whole lot more. I don't watch a lot of TV anyway, but I see a lot of commercials for mobile games. Like there's, I can't think of the name off the top of my head. The one with.
Oh, that Clash of Heroes. Or?
Yeah, that's one of them, and
Clash of Clans.
There's a bunch of them, and I'm like, I don't see console video game commercials. I only see the mobile stuff, so they got to be making money.
Yeah, I don't see many. I can't really speak to the commercials thing. You guys will have to help me out on this. I don't have cable television anymore. All I have is an internet connection plugged directly into the back of my TV, and that's how I consume my content now.
Yeah, the last commercial that I saw was Diablo 3. I want to say the Reaper of Souls one.
Wow.
And well,
my TV was always on ESPN, so I can't say about the other channels.
Yeah, the last commercial I saw was Gears of War for the Xbox 360, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch that much TV, but that's all I see. I don't see any other games.
No, I know what you're talking about because when I made that statement, I was leaving out mobile because I've seen a lot of the Clash of Clans advertisements actually before movies, like in the theater. I'll be at the theater and I'm seeing this giant, larger-than-life Clash of Clans battle.
Yeah, but let's all admit right now that the only good thing about that is Kate Upton.
All right, one more thing on the news for actually mobile gaming, so we can move on. It's Sega actually removed 19 mobile games.
I heard about that.
Afterburner, Climax, Jet Set Radio, Super Monkey Ball 1, 2, Adventure, Tip and Tilt 1 and 2, Touch and Roll, Ball Banana Split, Altar Beast, Echo the Dolphin, Golden Axe 1, 2, and 3, and a couple others.
Okay,
Now,
I can't see playing any of those on a mobile.
Yeah, these are all mobile games, then?
They're all ports, yeah, of their Sega Genesis equivalents. Now, from two things about that, real quick, and then I'll bow out. The first thing was I noticed that in the release they mentioned that they might be returning in a more featureful and more robust state. The second thing was I immediately went and started looking for a bunch of reading the reviews on things like the Golden Axe games and the Streets of Rage games and stuff. And each one of those ones that they had pulled had gotten like loads and loads of reviews from people, complaining that the games crash or that the touch controls were too huge and that you couldn't see anything on the screen. So I think this was a way for Sega to kind of save face. It does them no good to have these classic games being presented to people in a way that's just doesn't live up. And so if they really mean what they say by they're going to take some of these and retool them and bring them back in a way that's better for the form factor, I say more power to them. That's what they ought to do. Otherwise, people are going to go, what did people see in this game? It's garbage.
Yeah.
It's totally unplayable.
So they weren't meant for license expiring. It was just they want to make them better.
Yeah, a lot of these were like Echo, Streets of Rage. I mean, these are first-party primary IP of Sega, right? And what it was is they'd actually license their IP to a third party to do the phone ports. So what they weren't happy with was the quality of the ports. So what they're basically doing is letting the contract with the third party that did them expire, and then once which requires them to pull the games from the store. But then once all is said and done, like in another year, they could certainly consult with another third party and give us way more kick-ass versions of those same games from a different developer.
Yeah, and also this kind of like it shows like how do I want to put this? It shows how it shows the problem with digital only, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, they did say that if you've already purchased these games and you're happy with them and all that, you can continue to re-download them and install them to any one of your existing mobile or tablet devices, as long as you want. The only thing that you're going to be SOL on is, next year when Apple comes out with the iPhone 7 that doesn't work with any of the iPhone 6 software for no apparent reason, you might be SOL. But in the meantime, I mean, in this case, they're not taking away your purchase. They're just not allowing new purchasers.
And where that shows you for buying Apple.
Yeah. So, well, the same thing happens on Android, but
I always look for my shot at Apple.
To your point, though, with digital, right? When we did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode there, Mr. Nikon, we missed one that was worth mentioning, but some people probably didn't even know ever existed because it lasted for about a year and then like disappeared. Like by the time I realized, oh hey, I downloaded the demo for that. Wow, this is good. I ought to actually buy it. It was already gone and you couldn't get it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles reshelled.
I don't know.
There was actually an HD remake of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Turtles in Time that was released on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. A year later, when they didn't get the sales numbers that they were hoping for, even though it was one of the top sellers, I don't know what it takes to get the sales numbers they want nowadays, but it was one of the top sellers, and but didn't make enough. So either they couldn't afford to continue to hold the license, or they didn't want to continue to hold the license. So Sony just pulled the game from the store, and unless you already bought it way back when, it's gone. You're not going to see that one again, probably ever.
Honestly, that's the first time I've ever heard anything good about that version.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't. I have the demo. It wasn't bad. The problem is, and this maybe gets to Jason. I don't want to speak for you, but is part of your desire to have certain games left alone because maybe no matter how hard you try, the remake just can't live up to the original?
No, I want original stuff. You can do something in the same vein, but don't give me the exact same game with a new coat of paint.
So you're saying no, but it actually sounds like in effect you're agreeing with me because you're saying the new coat of paint wouldn't be enough to reinvent or reimagine what the original was. The original stands on its own and doesn't need any touch-ups.
The original's a fine game. There's no need to go back and redo that. So I'm not saying that it won't. You're not going to be able to. Well, how am I trying to say this? You're not going to be able to recapture that. It's not because it's sacred or anything like that. It's just I want new ideas. I want a new twist on things. One of my favorite games on the last little bit has been Shovel Knight. If anybody's played Shovel Knight, it's like the 8-bit style 2D platformer, or I guess 16-bit style 2D platformer that is amazing. It's one of the most fun games I've played in a year. But it was something different. It was a new spin on something that we love. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha. I can understand that. I can appreciate that.
I think there's some remakes, though. I don't know how I'm trying to phrase this either, but they turned out really well, and they were really well received. And like DuckTales, everybody loves DuckTales.
Yeah, the Resident Evil remakes I think have been great. The DuckTales remastered was an absolute masterpiece.
Yeah.
I still contend the only thing wrong with DuckTales remastered was the original NES game should have been an unlockable when you beat the game.
Yeah, I agree.
That would have made it absolutely perfect.
But yeah, unless there's something huge, and there's a lot of like with DuckTales, you could tell that they really cared about the project. They wanted to make it great. Unless you're going to go all out and you're going to improve it a ton, there's no reason. And I think that's kind of how I feel about it. Is that as far as remakes go, it's like just leave them alone unless you're really, really going to try.
Yeah, I think for me the rule is leave it alone unless you're going to ask Way Forward to do it.
Or if it's Nintendo.
So right. I mean, Way Forward, they kicked ass with DuckTales. They kicked ass with Double Dragon Neon. I mean, that was they didn't remake the original Double Dragon. They completely reinvented Double Dragon, and why they didn't get the rights to do the sequel, I have no idea. Again, maybe the company just doesn't want to make money.
Didn't that end up getting done by a different company and sucking?
Yeah, the sequel got done by a completely different company. They went in a different direction with it, and it was absolutely horrible, so we won't say any more about it.
Yeah, I heard that if you use your special even once, you get the bad ending. That's what I've heard.
If you play it, you get the bad ending.
Fair enough.
All right. Now, this kind of actually, whether or not you can take something old and make it new again, does kind of, dovetail us into the next, the topic of the night, which was whether or not folks prefer going new or used with your gaming purchases and gear. So, Mr. Nikon, the owner of an Arnold Palmer on a stick, what are your thoughts on new versus used?
Depends. If it's like my Wii, I only got used. I don't got much current gen stuff, so most of my stuff will have to be used. I can find new stuff for the Wii, but if I can find it used, I'll go for it that way since save me a couple bucks. And also, pretty much everything I buy used now. It's buying like NES games new in box. There's so much money, and I don't click new in box, so it's pointless. I'm just gonna open it up and play it. So.
Yeah, I'm a little bit the same. Like if it's old stuff, I prefer to get it used, mainly just because of cost. Because I know, like, anytime I see something like shrink wrapped, even if I see it like shrink wrapped, but it's a great deal, I'm like, you know what? That's a great deal that someone else should get, because the first thing I'm going to do is tear that wrapper off and play that game. So, if you got it and it's minty, sell it to some collector that's going to like store it in like a vacuum sealed container somewhere on like level 5 of their compound, because I'm just going to rip that sumbitch open and pop it in the NES. That's what's going to happen. So, Max, what's your thoughts?
Well, most of the time for me, it's just like I buy stuff most of the time used, because in general for like most games and stuff like that, they tend to like go down a lot, except it's like, Nintendo, because that's what happens to their stuff. But generally, if I'm buying something new, it's like, is the content like really worth purchasing this for like, let's say $60, or in the case of like, let's say a collector's edition, is that extra cost and like the contents in that collector's edition worth it? Because, for example, like back in November or whatever, I got the Smash 4 bundle, which has, has the game, it has the controller adapter, and it has, the Smash controller in it. And I was like, for $40 extra, since I kind of do need, another GameCube controller, and, the GameCube adapter might be used for other games in the future, I was like, I'll buy it. And, what happened afterwards is beyond crazy, was just like people just like scalping these bundles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That went on for like a few months, and prices have pretty much like dropped down to like almost normal now, but still, it's just like, that demand is still there, and it's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely nuts what happened with that. And I guess the biggest thing for me, and this is just like classic Nintendo, right? Nintendo is so good at destinying all of us. And by that I mean, like, just imagine what this could be if we take it further. We probably won't, but just imagine what it could be if we did. And then, like idiots, we all run out and buy it immediately.
Yeah.
So it's the only thing that I'm the GameCube controller adapter there, right? They have yet to release a single GameCube game in digital form on the Virtual Console for Wii U, but we're all hoping, praying, right, that it's just a matter of time. I think there's even people on change.org like trying to do a petition for like, please bring GameCube games to the Wii U, that kind of thing. But yeah, it just based on the potential for it, right? We'll just all go crazy and run out and buy the adapter, even though the only game that'll probably ever use it will be Smash.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's stuff like I'll hope for. I mean, it's just like, a lot of these accessories, really just go unused sometimes. I mean,
now, can you use that for like other games? Can you play like Super Mario 64 and stuff like that with the? Can you use it like a classic controller or?
Nope.
I haven't tried that out yet, but I'm not really sure if that would actually have support for it, because the only games I remember that like had a bunch of GameCube controller support were like early Wii games, and anything that was like possible to play with GameCube on the Wii.
Gotcha. I would love it if you would try it out and get back to us in a future episode about whether or not that works, because that would actually make it worth picking one of those up.
Yeah, I'll check that out, because who knows? Maybe that is a possibility.
Let me just save you the time right here. The only way you're going to get a GameCube controller to work on anything other than Smash Brothers is going to be with one of those Wii Remote to GameCube adapters.
Oh yeah.
You've tried it?
I haven't, but you just heard it straight from Nintendo that this is not going to work with anything but Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, that it's...
that's awful. That's awful.
But that's
that's probably better in the long run, because you gotta have the Wii Remote anyways to navigate the menus.
I hate the Wii Remote though.
Yeah, but that's what Nintendo does though. I mean, they make an accessory for one game, 2 games, and then it's never seen again. I mean,
no, that's not true. I've got tons of games for my Rob the Robot and my Power Pad and my Power Glove.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. They do this.
Maybe
like,
you have a point.
But they have a history of doing this, and every single console that they've done has some sort of gimmicky thing that's never seen again.
Let's face it, the best gimmick was the Game Boy Advance player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And component cables.
Oh God.
And like
those were only available through the website, and by the time I even got a job to pay for them, they were off of there and over $200.
Who's seen? I'm sorry, Tyler, you got me off on a tangent
Oh,
again.
you're fine.
Doesn't take much, but who's seen the Nintendo announcement video pre E3 about the Nintendo World Championship?
Yes.
2015.
That was hilarious.
Oh my goodness! Anybody that has not seen it, after the show is over, your homework is to immediately look up that Nintendo video. Seeing Reggie like down on his hands and knees like on the power pad, and then the guy like comes walking in, like looks at him like he's like what, and he just goes back to like cheating it with the like we all did that. Anybody that had the power pad that played World Class Track Meet, that was the only way you could get anywhere in that damn game. So I just thought it was kind of neat that even Nintendo, right, admitted like, yeah, we don't know what we were thinking.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a second GameCube near me to do the whole pulling up of the GameCubes.
Right, when he's like doing the whole.
Yeah, and I
like,
don't have a
working out
super
and
skill,
everything.
so can't press that.
So I felt like the kid though that he appointed to be like head of Nintendo. That would have been me if like I was a kid and I'd been like appointed to Nintendo. I'd be like, what if you had a game that like, well, like, what if you had a game like you could do anything? And they're like, yeah, okay. That was me as a kid, just like, they should make a game where like you could do anything. You could be anything. It would have been the crappiest game of all time.
Sounds like Minecraft.
Yeah, I think they gave us a game where you could go anywhere, do anything, be anything. It was called Asteroids. You just had to use your imagination, right? You're in a spaceship and you're flying through space to any destination that you want. So, yeah,
Or it
every
could be
Atari
Italian
game,
plumber.
you could make up different things for the graphics and stuff, and you could turn any Atari game into any kind of thing that you want. We should do that in a future episode. Just like take an Atari game and like make up a story to go with it.
And Atari games always had like nice illustrations on the cover, even though the graphics were.
Oh man, yeah, like you're looking at the cover and you're like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be the most epic like life experience ever. And then it's like
What?
with like a little ball like bouncing back and forth. It's Pong, right? And you're like, wow, it's just like I'm playing tennis. It's for real. On my television.
Going back to the World Championship real quick, they did announce the areas that they are going to have it and the game that they're using. For
Really? It's like 8 cities or something?
It's 10. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is what I see here. Harrison Street, San Francisco, Pacific Coast Bay, Torrance.
I might go to the San Francisco one.
Miami, Florida, Illinois, Maple Grove, Minnesota, I believe, and then Long Island City, New York, Dallas, Texas, and Tacoma, Washington. Or Tacoma. Tacoma, yeah.
I'm like, Taco, Washington? What?
Tacoma.
Like, my wife is from Washington, and she never told me there was a town called Taco.
No, it's
What's that,
Taco.
Jason?
You're asking your mother for tacos. So yeah, they're basically using Ultimate NES Remix on a 3DS. Which I'm imagining that if you're staying in line for that, it's going to be boring as all hell. Just waiting to go.
You better
Not
get
even the Nintendo Power Glove.
Just the games that they're using on that are Super Mario Brothers 3, and Dr. Mario.
That is, it makes sense though to do NES Remix for that kind of a game. It's definitely, you could have 8 dozen people play that and get wildly different outcomes with each one of them. Like like based on timing, score,
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, why not the Wii U version and have something that people can actually watch?
I'm sure they'll have them hooked into something.
Yeah, they should be able to.
And then there'll be all kinds of rumors that like Nintendo is going to release this adapter that you can hook your 3DS up to your TV and blah 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 blah. And we'll all buy 3DSs hoping that it'll come out, and then we'll hear no, that was just a one-off thing that they only used for the tournament.
They had 20,000 of them all the way.
But
Right.
yeah, it's going to be on May 30th, and I'm not going to be able to go to it because, well, the closest one near me is New York, and I'm in New Jersey, so making that trip is a pain in the ass.
Oh man, you're like in the Kmart of New York.
50 states? You mean New Jersey is 49 bitches.
Nice.
All right.
New York has New Jersey, and Chicago has Indiana.
And California has the rest of the 49 states.
Yeah.
no, hold on, Arkansas. We've got Mississippi. Thank God for Mississippi. We're not last.
Arkansas. All right. So Anybody else want to chime in on new versus used?
I prefer used, unless it's like a really like one of my favorite games. Pretty much, that's the only way I'll buy it new. Otherwise, I want used. Unless it's an old system, then of course I'm buying used.
Yeah, I think everybody's pretty much summed it up. I mean, for old stuff, it pretty much has to be used. New, I don't really buy any new games, but anything Mario Kart or Zelda, I'd buy new. But other than that, I don't really
I always
buy
check
much.
if it's been the last couple generations, like something in the last 3 generations. Every now and then I'll check because sometimes you'll get. I actually bought. I mentioned a couple shows back. Turf, Mighty Final Fight for the NES. Can you give us a guess as to what that fetches now?
I would guess Mighty Final Fight be right around $100.
Yeah.
30.
Yeah, that sounds about right. You can get Capcom Mini Mix for the Game Boy Advance that contains Strider, Bionic Commando, and Mighty Final Fight.
Oh,
I bought it 2 months ago off of Amazon, brand new in the shrink wrap for $9, including shipping.
No, I think isn't Mighty Final Fight? Sorry, is it Mighty Final Fight on the Wii U Virtual Console now?
It is now.
Okay.
They announced it literally the week after I bought it off of Amazon.
Yeah, it's an NES game, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I just looked it up real quick on price charting. Apparently, complete in box, $356.
Oh yeah, Turf was giving us the loose cart price.
Yeah, loose card is $124.99.
Jeez.
Wow.
Man, I'm not in the ballpark. Look at me go. I bought mine for 35.
And I mean, in 2012, it was only $33.
Yeah, 2012 when NES bananas, man. Collecting got bananas. So we'll say about the topic.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody was reading Jason's posts about how awesome NES is, and then they couldn't help themselves.
All right. Apparently, January of this year, complete in box apparently went for $31.99 at one time.
Somebody slipped something through.
Yeah. Somebody listed it as like moldy bread or something by accident.
But yeah.
I mean, every now and then. My point was, every now and then you'll be surprised. If you had told me that I would have been able to get a Game Boy Advance game complete in box 2 months ago for like $9, much less one that contained like 3 pretty popular titles, remakes or ports rather of 3 pretty popular titles on the NES, I would have been kind of shocked. But every now and then you'll find an old, forgotten about but still good PlayStation 1 game or PlayStation 2 game. Still in the shrink wrap. You can still find lots of Wii games in the shrink wrap for a pretty decent price.
Yeah. I mean, personally, for me, I just buy whatever I can get my hands on, and if it's within reason, for me. I mean, my PS4 is actually technically used. I bought it off of a friend for cheaper than the going price, and he ended up buying another one later down the road. So technically, it worked out that we both bought one new, technically.
Yeah, I do want to give a warning to folks that are in the newer console generations that are looking to get stuff used.
Oh.
I managed to get my hands on Legend of Zelda, the
Nice.
collector's edition of the Wii U, used, and bought it from like a reputable forum member and everything. It wasn't VG Collect; it was another forum, but. I got it at the time. It was, advertised as like, here you go. It's the console with 19 games, and 6 of them were physical games, like actually had the disc and the cases and all that other stuff. Had the manual about how to get to the electronic manual, which I know that Red Blaze loves those.
I still gotta retrieve that. Somewhere in the corner there.
But where I got screwed was. All the other games, right? 6 of the games were physical. All the other games were digital. So we're talking, it had NES Remix 1 and 2. It had New Super Mario Brothers U It had Dr. Luigi, Zelda HD, the Wind Waker HD. I'm saying all these in past tense for a reason. When I bought the console, my understanding was that the console owner told me that the way that it worked was that the purchases, like with the Wii, he said the Wii U, the purchases were tied to the console, not to a particular count on the console. After I got it, and I went and I read up on it, which I should have done first, I found out that wasn't the case. They are tied to the console, but by a Nintendo ID. So I contacted the guy that sold it to me, because when I paid him, I didn't pay full market value for it, certainly, but I still paid more than I would have paid if I knew that 14 of the 19 titles, or 13 of the 19 titles, were going to be useless. Anyway, I contacted him, and he said, no, that's not the way that it works. I sent him the link to the page. He insisted, no, it's still, I'm not interpreting it correctly. I called Nintendo. Nintendo said, no, you're exactly right, blah, blah, blah. And so basically what happened was the guy stopped responding to any of my emails at all. And this past weekend, magically, all the content on my Wii U that was tied to his account. Fortunately, when I got it, the first thing I did was create my own account, create my own Nintendo ID, and all the purchases that I made on my account. But all the ones that were on the other account were gone. To add further to the confusion, the reason I didn't just initially say, hey, look, dude, what the hell, give me some of my money back or whatever, was because when I first explained to him what the situation, he goes, oh, well, no big deal, right? And he gives me login information to the account. So then I asked him, aren't you using this on other devices, like a 3DS or whatever? He goes, no. And so, again, stupid me, I should have clarified. I assumed that what he meant was he was turning over that account to me. A month ago, he reset the password because apparently he's been using it for the last 4 months on his 3DS, and he didn't want me to do to him what he did to me, which was shortly thereafter he either must have registered it on another Wii U, or he went and tidied up his account, because all the digital content that was tied to his account on my box is now gone. It's still there. I can click the icons, but it tells me I can't play it because it's not mine.
Really?
So
that's odd. The only
stuff. My only point is, and then I'll step down from the soapbox, or from the rage box. If you're going to buy used stuff in these newer generations, whether it's a PS3, 360, Xbox One, whatever, pretty much assume that any of the digital content that's on there is not on there to stay. It does not belong to you, even if the person says that it belongs to you. There's absolutely no way for you to guarantee that anything digital on there is going to stay, much less be portable to any replacement console that you might need to get. So if you're ever in a bidding war or something, or in a position where you can get a good deal on one of these consoles, just keep in mind, don't consider the digital content of any value, at least where your dollars are concerned. Anything physical that they're willing to sell you, that you'll be able to hold on to. Anything digital could be gone the very next day.
That's kind of odd, because I bought my 3DS used, and it was actually part of the ambassador program, and I was able to just download everything from it. That was well after the ambassador program ended.
Well, and I don't think this guy meant to screw me, because he was saying the same thing. He's like, that's not the way my 3DS works, blah, 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 blah. But, and it's not the way that the Wii worked either. But Nintendo makes it pretty clear on their page, like, look, the content is tied to an ID. If you install if you log in with that ID on another Wii U, it will activate that Wii U to be able to download and use your purchases, and it will deactivate your purchases on any other Wii U that you might have had.
All right, so Nintendo is now learning about the internet. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So it's more like the PlayStation 3, right? Where your purchases are tied to your account, and they're protected while on your console, and you've got some flexibility with the counts on the console, being able to use them and all that other stuff. But if you want your purchases on another console, you have to put your account on that console, and if you've reached your max number of activations, you're not going to be able to you're going to have to deactivate that content on another system. So just keep in mind, even if they hand you the credentials and all that other stuff, there's still no guarantee. He gave me the credentials, and like I said, I thought he was giving me the account. I thought he was turning it over to me because I asked him, using it anywhere else? He said no. So I actually reset the password, changed all the information, and then I get an email a month ago that he reset the password back somehow. I have no idea how he did it. But somehow he's able to reset the password back, and then like weeks later, all my content was deactivated, and I was one pissed off person. He's still not responding to any of my emails. So I don't want to trash talk him personally, but I do want to share the experience so that other people know this can happen. And I don't think he meant to mislead me. I think he still probably just thinks I'm an asshat that doesn't know how to use my Wii U and put my email in a block filter.
Was the Zelda game deleted too? Because this should be.
I lost the Zelda Hyrule Historia. I lost Wind Waker HD. I lost everything.
Because Wind Waker should be pre-installed on the console.
It's pre-installed, but the problem is that once you add a Nintendo Network ID to your console, it retroactively binds the content under that account to that Nintendo ID.
That sucks.
Yeah. So fortunately I have the if the guy would just like listen to my email, you know, he'd know I'm not trying to like get all my money back. I'm not trying to ship the console back. Half the content that was on there in digital I already own in physical anyway, so I don't care about those. The only thing I do care about is there's a lot of sweet games on there that I don't have in physical that I don't want to repurchase because they're expensive as hell, like New Super Mario Bros. U, Wind Waker HD. I mean, if you look these up on Amazon right now to buy those new physical, you're talking like $50-$60 a pop.
Oh, wow.
I'm not looking forward to that. So I am looking for him to do something to kind of make it right, but I'm not looking for him to give me, you know, the full purchase price back or anything crazy like that. I just want to be able to maybe go back and you know, my son and I were halfway through New Super Mario Bros. U. I'd like to, at the very least, repurchase that in digital, and then, you know, we can at least finish our game, but whatever.
Buy it physical.
What was that?
Buy it in the physical form. Don't buy digital.
Yeah.
Well, the problem now is, since I played it in digital, everything that I've read says if I buy it physical, then the save games don't transfer.
It's a good game.
I'm pretty sure that's not right. I could have sworn that my DuckTales actually swapped over when I swapped to the physical one.
I think it was specific to the game. I think specifically the Nintendo games don't.
Hmm.
With DuckTales being third party, they probably, you know, are kind to their customer.
I don't know. I mean, the only other thing that I've had was NES Remix, and I haven't really come back to the first one, so I don't know.
I heard that those didn't transfer over. I heard that the NES Remix and the New Super Mario Brothers saves don't transfer from digital to physical. I don't have it, so I can't confirm. So if I'm wrong, definitely correct.
I'll look later and confirm what's at least NES Remix.
Yeah, I got the NES, I got the digital and the physical, and I finished the digital, and then the physical didn't transfer, so I had to start over, which I didn't hate. It was fun.
Okay, so you're confirming that with which game were you confirming they don't cross over?
NES Remix.
Okay. I try not to make stuff up.
Well, I think
But that said, right? As much as I try not to make stuff up, we do have a third topic on here that I'd offered to tell you guys a story if you want to hear a story.
Love to hear it.
Yes.
All right, go for
Want to
it.
hear a story, guys?
Gather around the campfire.
Hold on, I gotta get my blanket.
All right. And to any of my fellow viewers who might know that I'm Mormon, for the record, this isn't a beer. This is Virgil's Dr. Better, which is a health drink. It's a soda, but it's like cane sugar and all natural ingredients and everything. So I'm gonna call it a health drink. And it looks like beer, and it has what looks like Jesus on the label. So I'm going with this is all good. This is the Lord would approve of this. It's non-alcoholic, for the record. All right. So everybody got their blankets? Everybody all squared away?
I got my pillow.
All right. I'm gonna ask you guys. I'm gonna try to set this up so that I can do of some video that I want to share. This is an audio visual journey I want you to take with me. But I'll need you guys to. We might have to NASA it if it doesn't work.
Can we get some milk and cookies before we read the story?
Milk cookies.
Aww.
All right.
Just one.
Let me see here. So I'm gonna try to switch over to the microphone that's on Manycam, and we'll see if this actually works. All right, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can still hear me. That is awesome. I'm going to attempt to play a sound from my computer, and I need to know if you can hear the sound from my computer because I also have special music from Eric Peabody of Viking Guitar to accompany the story. But I'm not going to play the actual clip from him. I'm going to play a different clip. That's not copy protected. All right, let's see here. Sound. All right. Tell me if you can hear this. All right.
No.
You couldn't hear that.
Something faint there to drum.
Yeah.
You could kind of hear. I'm looking for a better sound. Of course, like here we go. These are all like super low. Did you hear that? Like a bell ring?
Yeah.
Barely.
Nope.
It's really hard to hear.
Keep going.
I heard it, right?
Oh God, that's so freaking low.
All right. I'm gonna turn up the volume a bit more there. All right.
Pump up the
So
volume. Pump up the volume.
everybody hears that?
Sort of.
You're what now?
Sort of. All right. I'm gonna set the video onto me. It should jump around a lot less. I'm going to load video into my playlist. I will also be verbally saying everything that I do as I do it because it makes it more exciting. So let's see. I'm going to go to Pitcha and Pitcha.
Excuse me.
Let's see. Media files. Game footage. All right, here we go. All right. I'm going to, can I restart this? All right.
Kind of
Here
quiet.
we go. Here we go. Ah, what? Stop! What are you doing? No. Ah. That was scary there, but I made it through.
Censored.
All right. So here we go. We're gonna give this a go and see how it works. All right, folks. This here is a story about friendship. Jason had a frog named Fred. And Jason used to love watching his frog play. one day, Fred didn't want to play in the fishbowl. Fred wanted to go out and explore the wide, wide world. So Fred left out of the fishbowl and into Jason's backyard, where there happened to be, for no adequately explainable reason, a box of toxic waste. Fred was curious. He jumped on the toxic waste and mutated into the Super Fred. Jason looked on the horror. Fred, in the box, fell into a giant hole that opened up in the middle of his backyard. Jason ran after him, but fell into the hole. When he got to the bottom of the hole, he didn't find Fred. He found a tank. He found a tank named Sophia. He found a helmet. And he found armor. He knew. Jason knew what he had to do. He had to fight the bowels of the underworld to find the rat bastard that took his friend Fred and make them pay. He didn't know if he did. He didn't know how he was going to do it, or how long hard road would be one day. He knew, hell or high water, So, Jason fired up Sophia, took off into, I don't know why there's like a sky, it's not that kind of thing. Anyway, he went through that underworld, blasting the crap on robots, flying creatures, other flying creatures, avoiding toxic facilities that are running around. And then he went swimming, fought some like jellyfish squid things, and he got like heat-seeking missiles, which were awesome. And then he battled the giant, well, not straight with like, but anyway, he blew the crap out of that thing. Right? Then he went to a castle, an ancient castle, where he found a giant lobster. Can you believe this? Giant lobster. He looked at this with all his one page and stuff like unlike that bored replication rat bastard. What? Why is he throwing stars? Is he a ninja? Man, like, moving on fast forward, this guy takes a really long time to do. I'm talking like ridiculous. Then he had to go back to level 1 to find level 4. Can you believe that? And oh, by the way, the tank. Yeah, it turned out the tank was fine. So then he went through the sewer system, where he found a giant mutant frog. Not Fred. Mutant frog, and then looked through this with grenade the start button, short road back. Then he did one more swing. Found a giant crab who forces all that money. At this point, did I mention that the tank can swim? So yeah, so the tank, he swam that into level 6, where he fought another giant lobster guy, and this guy actually starts like exploding and everything while you're fighting it. It looks really cool, but I'm pretty sure it's actually a glitchy game. So, level 7, found another mutant frog, again not Fred, but this one shoots fireballs like dude. Grenade, start button, short work. Now, it's on to level 2. He found this giant, evil skeleton dog thing that spits poison meatballs. Pulled the powered up gun at this distance, he makes short work of that guy. And then, he went against that rat bastard. He went up against the Plutonian boss himself. He looked fierce, but all he did was stand in the corner and like pop a bunch of grenades and got him to die, and then he got him. Finally got back to the surface and watched the whole thing crumble next to his best really sad. And that, my friend, is the tale of how a normal boy became a plastic man. Folks, this has been listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode and this story. Tune in Thursday, we're sure to have something much less epic than I hate to hate. Dylan tried really hard. Thank you.